Hello and welcome to another episode of Set Musings. So in this episode we're up to Dissension, which is the third set of the Ravnica block. It's a small set, 180 cards, so 55 commons, 55 uncommons, 55 rares. Any theme decks that were produced around that time would have had the basic land artwork in them from the main set, which would have been Ravnica City of Guilds. So you know the usual procedure with Set Musings. We're going to go through here and I'm going to slice and dice the setup, slicing through different ways. For this particular block it was quite complicated in some ways because of the fact that the guilds were spread out across three sets in a 4-3-3 arrangement. So 4 guilds in the first set, 3 in the second, 3 in the third, which meant you ended up with this mega cycle, because a mega cycle refers to cycles that spread across sets in the same block. So you ended up with this mega cycle because of the guilds being split up, or loads of, several mega cycles. So what I've been slowly doing as I've been going through these is we'll work through firstly the key themes, mechanics and keywords, abilities that pertain to each of the guilds that are featured in this set, and then we'll look at the cycles that were just for this set, and there are a few. Normally there's not many. There's 3 cycles in this set that are just within the set, and then we'll move on to the mega cycles, and then as I normally do, we'll wrap it up by slicing through the different types of spells, so instant sorceries, creatures and so on, to give us an overall idea of the set from that angle. So yeah, I've enjoyed this set. Like, looking back at the themes and mechanics, the bit I haven't enjoyed is the prep, because it gets a little bit complicated when you're dealing with cycles that spread across a block, and also some of the cycles are pretty they're cycles not thematically from a necessarily a rules text point of view, but more to do with the mana. So yeah, that's always interesting when you're trying to slice up in Scryfall. I mean, Scryfall does a really good job for this sort of stuff, but even so, it gets quite involved with some of those ones. So I'm going to do what I normally do at this point. We're going to scroll through the 180 cards, just in overview. Look, we have a condemn. So again, we can get a feel for the overall artwork of the set. And I'm sure I've pointed this out before, of course, because all of the guilds were effectively encapsulated in their own little sort of set ecosystem. There's no overspill of set mechanics across sets like you do get in some blocks, and so that's unusual. Even though, as you got in the later sets, if you were drafting this or doing sealed, normally you'd have combinations of the smaller set with the larger set. So yeah, it makes deck building very interesting with the later sets if you keep it along standard lines. However, if you do like I do when I come to do the Set Musings episode, and I just stick with the set, the Deck Durdle episode, just stick with the set, you get a slightly different thing, and of course then it's locked in on just the keywords and abilities of the set without any overspill from any other sets in the block that might be in that card pool. You can see again we've got the guilds represented by this watermark here. And you can see there's quite an array of creature types as well. Again, they tend to be sticking with just no more than 2 types, where there's like a hybrid creature type, as opposed to some of the sets we've seen before this, where you're getting like three different types. I think there was a couple of seals in the set actually, which are reprints from an earlier set in Magic's history. You can see as we're scrolling through here, you can start to see the set mechanics for the guild, or the guild mechanics popping out here. We've got graphed here, and I'll go through these individually in a moment. Over Utopia Sprawl, and then of course we've got a number of 2-colour cards from the 3 guilds. Again, two each legendaries, and 2 legendaries for each of the guilds. Some hybrid mana as well, a certain amount of hybrid mana cards, and we haven't seen these in the other sets. We've got some split cards, so we'll talk about those as well in this episode. And no surprise to see the signets here, and also I think they were calling them something like guild artifacts. And the corresponding non-basic lands. So we've got Cycle at Rare, shock lands, and then we've got a cycle of the bounce lands, or part of the mega cycle of the bounce lands, part of the mega cycle of the shock lands, and part of the mega cycle of the guild lands. So let's get on. As far as I know, in this block, no real change to the actual frames here between the previous block. But again, something I'll try and keep a lookout going forward in set musings, where suddenly you do get a change in that. Because the last big change in the frames was a changeover from into modern borders as of 8th edition. So that precedes this quite a bit. Okay, so let's go through the different guilds, and we'll look at 3 things. We'll look at the keyword ability. We'll look at the legendary guild members, but also we'll look at the watermark, just how many cards are actually just badged up as a particular guild. So we've got 33 Azorius watermarked cards here in here. So this is Azorius is white blue. And so to warrant a watermark, you'll notice, I think it's normally one of 3 things. Either it has to be Azorius in the casting cost, and or any casting costs here and here in the rules text have to be Azorius colours, or alternatively it can be in one of the colours and then feature the appropriate guild keyword and ability. So you can see, although this is a white card here, there's no blue, so its colour identity is white. It's got forecast, which is the guild ability, and so it gets badged up accordingly with the Azorius watermark. And you can see as we scroll down all the different combinations that I've mentioned. So here we've got white, blue, And then down to the split cards are interesting. We'll talk about those in a moment, how the colours, because they're slightly different. They're sort of the odd one out, and you can sort of see, I know you can see here, look, so that what they've done there is, in effect, they are the combination of two guilds, but they break out from the guilds that are actually in this set. So this is the one instance where there is a breakaway from the rest of the three guilds. So you can see this is not Azorius, Rakdos or Simic. This is a Selesnya guild card, green-white. So we'll see how that is divided up and what was done to fit those particular cycles, because there's a couple of cycles which are just set cycles. So 33 of those with Azorius watermarks on. Then we move on to the two legendaries. We've got Grand Arbiter Augustine the Fourth and Esperia the Inscrutable. And I'll go through these when we go through the mega cycles, but just so you can see, just two per guild. And now we go on to the actual keyword ability from the Azorius Guild, Azorius Senate, and that is Forecast. And there's 9 cards with Forecast on it. So let's see what Forecast does. So this one here, 1 and a white, reveal Paladin of Prav from your hand. Whenever target creature deals damage this turn, you gain that much life. Play this ability only during your upkeep and only once each turn. So you can see you can cast these cards regularly, but as long as this card is in your hand, you can effectively keep forecasting this card once each turn until ultimately you play it. And you can see there's quite big differences here between the forecast cost and the casting cost. And I think you're sort of seeing echoes in some way of the ability that's actually on the card. So this one has, whenever Paladin of Prav deals damage, you gain that much life. When it's in play, it's been cast 4 and 2 white as a 3/4. If you forecast it for 1 and a white, when you reveal it, whenever target creature deals damage this turn, you gain that much life. So you can see a sort of spin on this. And that's true of these forecast cards. They're sort of forecasting, if you like, the ability on the card. So in the case of a non-creature spell like this one, so with Sky Scribing, X and 2 blue to cast it, and each player draws X cards. If you forecast it while it's in your hand, 2 and a blue reveals Sky Scribing for your hand. Each player draws a card. And you can see there's a few of these are in the 2 colour cards as well. 3 of those out of the 9. So 3, 3 and 3. So we will move on to Rakdos. 37 cards have the watermark on them. And as before, you're going to sort of see a mixture of those. Additionally, we've got the split cards as well. But as I've mentioned, and you'll see why, some of these might have a guild watermark that's outside of the 3 that are in the set. Obviously, the Rakdos Signet and the guild artifact have guild colours on them, as do the 3 non-basic lands in the set. 37 of those. So there does seem to be a slight difference here. numbers across there. They're the two legendaries. We've got Lysolda, the Blood Witch, and Rakdos, the Defiler. Hellbent is the keyword or ability word in the or sort of for Rakdos, and there's 14 of those, so slightly more than the previous one for Azorius, the forecast. And again, they're on a mixture of cards. Looks like we got slightly more. It looks like it's 5, 4 and 4. It said 3, 3 and 3 like the last one. So with Hellbent, you'll notice that the recurring theme here is if you have no cards in hand. So we've got two abilities here which seem to care about or revolve around something to do with your hand. The previous one, forecast, revealing cards from your hand. In this one, it's a condition based on you having no cards in hand. So when you play this, obviously it checks to see if that's true. So on the Demon's Jester, it gets +2, +1 as long as you have no cards in hand. On the Infernal Tutor, which is a sorcery, when you play this, if you have no cards in hand, instead search your library for a card, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. So in some cases, it's just, in the case of creatures, it's sort of adding an additional ability on here. Some of which are just sort of static, they don't have to be activated. And you can see some here are activated either by paying a cost or by tapping. So when you come to, this just checks to make sure that this criteria is met in order for you to get this. Obviously with the instants and sorceries, it's checking at the point the spell is cast. And some do have an additional cost here, that one does. So does that. So yeah, an interesting way on the creatures certainly of adding additional abilities that are conditional, and then also in the case of the non-creature spells, again if the condition is met, giving the spell something a little bit extra. So with this one, for 3 and a red, you get to deal 3 damage to target creature or player. If the Hellbent gets triggered, so you have no cards in your hand when you play, after playing it, so to speak. So it happens because after that's checked, after you've obviously taken the card out of your hand. It deals 5 damage to that creature or player instead. So moving on to Simic, which is green-blue, 37 cards. So 5 in blue, 6, my mistake, 6 in blue. Number in green now, 1, 2, oh yeah, well, 8 in green, and then the rest are all in multiple colours until we get to the artifacts and the non-basic lands. Again, no split cards. Our 2 legendaries, if you haven't spotted them already, are Experiment Crage and Mormir Vig Simic Visionary. So those are the Simic legendaries. And our Simic ability is Graft. So you'll see Graft and then a value. So that's how many counters that the creature comes into play with. So this one here, Novigian Sages, 4 and 2 blue to cast, 0/0, so they're all got 0/0 power and toughness, because their power and toughness is supplied by graft. So this one is graft 4, so it comes into play with 4+1/+1 counters. Whenever another creature comes into play, you may move a +1/+1 counter from this creature onto it. So there's a nifty thing going on there, playing around with counters as stuff hits the battlefield. You get to move your counters around. So well, we've got 5 in blue. I've done it again, sorry, I can't count. 4 in blue, 6 in green, and then 2 in the 2 colours, in the Simic colours. So yeah, fairly straightforward there. You'll see there's also, some of them have additional abilities that allow you to do additional counter manipulation, or check for a certain condition on a creature with counters on it and then do something. So it's cool there where you've got counter manipulation and counter checking outside of just these coming into play, and you being able to move them around. So more fun with counters. Right. So before we start diving into cycles and such like, let's just look at the way colours are represented in the set. So we've got 9 cards which are hybrid cards, 3 from each of the guilds. And there's the reminder textures reminding you about how hybrid mana works. Then we've got 40 cards which are 2 colour cards in the set. And that's actually, 2 colours in the casting cost rather than having a colour identity with 2 colours, which is something different. And not surprisingly, all of those have the relevant guild stamp on them, the guild watermark. And something I mentioned earlier, the split cards. I'll go through these a bit more because these are part of us. There's 2 cycles of these, so I'll do it at that point. But you can see already there's some guild shenanigans going on here. There was a little bit of a protection theme. So just to recap, you've got the guild system, hybrid mana, multicoloured cards, split cards, then forecast, hellbent and graft. Additionally, there was a little bit of protection going on. Not much. And the reason why this is important is because 2 of the cards sort of expand on the protection ability, in that they rather than saying protection from blue or protection from white, they've got protection from monocoloured and protection from multicoloured. You also had Azorius First Wing, which had protection from enchantments on it. So yeah, just in the history of protection from, this set was significant because of these 2 cards. And again, you can see here, and I'll highlight them again. They're actually a mirrored pair. So in terms of cycles just within the set, there was a cycle of Eidolons, and these were 2/2 spirits with a converted mana cost of 4. You can see they're all CMC 4, that can be sacrificed for an effect and may be returned from the graveyard to your hand whenever you play a multicoloured card. And you can see the effect that you get when you sacrifice it is very much something you would associate with the particular colour. So with the white one you've got damage prevention, with the blue one you've got library, graveyard sort of manipulation, with the black one you've got life swap or movement of life from one player to you. The red one makes a creature unblockable just for the duration of the turn, and the green one is mana, and they're all 2/2s, as I think I mentioned. Okay, so the two other cycles that were just in the set and the set alone. One is this cycle of split cards that are uncommon, and they centre around where one colour, but each of the sides represents an allied colour guild of that colour. So this one here is centred around blue, black, one here red, this one is green, and this one is white. You can see, the outer and the inner, I suppose, colours there. But you'll notice that clearly some of these are not from guilds that are in the set. They're from guilds outside of the set, but are guilds that are in the block. So whilst you have this, this is Azorius. This is not from a guild in the set. This part is from the Rakdos Guild, whereas this isn't from any guild in the set. This one here, again, Rakdos. This one not in the set. Again, this one here. So this one is interesting because neither of these come from a guild in the set, but the last one does, because it's one of them does. So you're bound to get that if you're going through effectively. And what's happening here is you've got each of the two side by side colours. So the side by side allied colours side by side. So white, blue, blue, black, black, red, red, green, green, white, white, blue. So you can see what they've done with the other cycle, which are the rares. These are the enemy colours. So red, white, black, green, blue, red, white, black, green, blue, red, white, and black, green, blue. Now here, it looks like, if I'm right, because of the choices, let me just check that. So Azorius is an allied guild. Rakdos is an allied guild. Okay, so yeah, any ones with Simic on them are from guilds in the set, and that would just be two here, or two halves of the split card. All the remaining are colour combinations for guilds that are outside of this set. And again, that makes more sense when you consider at this point, if you're doing drafting, you're going to be drafting this set alongside sets in the block. And I'm assuming as well at the pre-release, the sealed pool was done using cards from Dissension, and also cards from the large set. And of course what you're getting here is, with these cards, with the split cards, you can see you've got, obviously these are all non-creature spells, and in some way they're trying to reflect the casting colours in the casting cost in the sort of thing that it does. So trying to pick spells or flavour the spells in certain ways that it would be associated with, you know, the appropriate colour combination here for that particular half of the spell. Okay, so the mirrored pairs, Guardian of the Guild Pact and Enemy of the Guild Pact. So Guardian's 3 and a white, Enemy is 1 and a black. One's a 2/3, the other's a 4/2. One has protection from monocoloured, the other has protection from multicoloured. They're both spirits. And then the other mirror pair were these two skeins, instant and sorcery respectively, and they affect the hand side. So each player draws 2 cards on the vision skeins for 1 and a blue, and delirium skeins 2 and a black. Each player discards 3 cards. So symmetrical hand size manipulation. Card draw, card discard. Okay, here we go. So now we move into the bit I always have fun with. So these are the mega cycles. So you've got, first up we've got the off colour activated permanence. We've seen all the other ones in the other set, so these are just obviously going to be the ones from Dissension. And you can see how this works when they're laid out like this. So white blue, blue white, blue green, black red, red black, and green blue. So 2 from Azorius, 2 from Rakdos, and 2 from Simic. And mixed bag here, you've got a couple of enchantments, and then the rest are all creatures. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else with that. No, they're all... You don't have to tap them or anything. Although this untaps Simic Wagwam. I was just looking to see if there are any additional conditions on that. Then we've got allied boosting spells. So they're monocoloured spells. They do something extra if you use its skills a colour when you pay its mana costs. Just to recap, those in Ravnica are spells with additional effects. Those in Guild Pact were creatures that gain enter the battlefield abilities, and those in Dissension, this set, are creatures with enter the battlefield abilities that are sacrificed unless paid for with the other colour. So you can see here Azorius Herald. So 2 and a white to play, but you sack it unless blue was spent to play it. Now, the way these are put together, obviously you would want to get something for that, and you can see there is an enter the battlefield ability on here that is obviously going to trigger before it checks for this. So so very minimum. So for instance, if you play 1 and a blue but you haven't played any green, then you're going to get this for the Plex Manta. If you have green in your casting cost, so say you paid green blue to play this, then it would enter the battlefield. This would trigger, and then it would check for this, and you did play green, so it would stay in play. And you can see various, again, the sort of, comes into playability, the sort of things that you would expect in those colours. But the second bit's all the same. It all just checks to see, did you pay the corresponding guild colour? Yes or no. If you did, then all you get is the effect oh sorry, if you did, then you get the card. If you didn't, then you get the card and the effect. If you didn't, then you just get the effect. Common hybrid spells. So, surprise, surprise. Spells that are hybrid and mana and are common, and there's one for each of the cards. Each of the guilds. And exactly one hybrid mana to be more specific. Yeah. Then we've got guild mages, so they're uncommon. 2/2 creatures for 2, but the 2 is paid for using hybrid mana, so you can pay any combination thereof. So 2 white, 2 blue, or white blue in the case of this one, and same with the relevant colours in the others. And you can see also with these guild mages, there was 2 abilities on them, and each one was in the relevant colour for the guilds, and then they did something that you would associate with the particular colour. And as you probably know, anybody that's used these a lot in various formats will know that some of these are much more powerful than others, or have much more utility than others. That's probably a better way of thinking about it. 3 rare hybrid spells. They're rare and they're hybrid. Enchantment, creature and sorcery. And they all have 3 hybrid mana in them. A cycle of common gold keyworded cards. Yep, so you can see they have the keyword of the guild, and they're in guild colours. Simple as that. And they're all commons. And you remember this cycle as well, this sort of unbalanced gold cards. So you're going to see 6 here because 2 of each of the unbalancing. So 2 white and a blue for this one, 1 white, 2 blue, 1 black, 2 red, 2 black, 1 red, and 2 green, 1 blue, and 1 green and 2 blue. So you can see a lot of cycles here are really just about the way the colours are combined. So first up in terms of our Legendaries, part of the cycle, part of the mega cycle. So these are the guild champions. So what these do is these reward players for playing with cards of their let me get this right actually. Playing with cards of their 2 colours. I think, have I got that around the right way, or have I got these? Sometimes I make the mistake of swapping these. That's not right actually. Oh, hang on, let me just check this. This one looks a bit weird here. Yeah, I see what's happened. Yeah, no, this is the one I had to watch out for. So check your notes, Rob. So in Asperia and Experiment Crage, break the cycle effectively. You can sort of see in when we look at the other ones what happened. I don't know what point in design this happened, but you can see what's happened is that that template got flipped somehow. So in totality, you get that across the 3 legendaries, where you'll see that 3 of the cards care about the colours from the guild, and then 3 of the cards don't specifically do that, and they're all about like investing or checking for something. So yeah, things definitely went a bit wonky in this set. That means that there's no real what's the word? The abilities don't have a similarity to them across the cycle. So it's Espero the Inscrutable, 2 white, 2 blue, legendary creature, Sphinx, got flying, it's a 3/6. Whenever this deals combat damage to a player, name a card. That player reveals his or her hand. If he or she reveals a named card, search your library for a creature card with flying, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your library. With Lysolda, the Blood Witch, which is black-red, 3/1, 2, sacrifice a creature. Lysolda, the Blood Witch, deals 2 damage to target creature or player if the sacrificed creature was red. Draw a card if the sacrificed creature was black. So that is checking for the colours. Experiment Kraj, 2 green, 2 blue, 4/6 legendary creature, Ooze Mutant, has all the activated abilities of each creature with a +1/+1 counter on it. Tap, add a +1/+1 counter on target creature. And then we've got, with the other cycle, we've got Grand Arbiter Augustine the 4th. 2 white, blue, 2/3. White spells you play cost 1 less to cast. Blue spells you play cost 1 less to cast. Spells your opponents play cost 1 more to cast. Rakdos the Defiler, 2 black, 2 red. Flying Trample. When Rakdos the Defiler attacks, sacrifice half the non-demon permanents you control rounded up. When Rakdos deals combat damage to a player, that player sacrifices half the non-demon permanents he or she controls. And then Mormon Vig, Simic Visionary, green, blue, 2/2, legendary creature, elf, wizard. Whenever you play a green creature spell, you may search your library for a creature card and reveal it. If you do, shuffle your library, then put that card on top of it. Whenever you play a blue creature spell, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, put that card into your hand. So some degree of swapping around went on there, I think, between the abilities and the cycles. So the cycle of signets, we've seen the rest of these in the other sets. So these are the 3 from Dissension: Azorius, Rakdos, and Simic. 2 to cast, and then you act as a sort of filter for a single mana of any colour, but out of it you get 2 mana of the appropriate guild colours. Then these things, which I believe are called guild artifacts, so rare artifacts have an activated ability costing both of its guild colours, so you can see down here. This one is interesting because it imparts that ability on something else. This is interesting as well. This plays around with counters, but only on itself, I think, yeah. But I'm assuming you could use some of the abilities on the graft cards to, because there was some stuff in graft where it moved. I'm going to lose my place now. Never mind. Oops. Yeah, so any other creature. So yeah, that's an interesting thing going on there. One creature, one piece of equipment, one artifact. Here's our bounce lands, Zorius, Rakdos, Simic. Come into play tapped. When they come into play, you have to return a land you control to its owner's hand, but once they go online and you're able to tap them, then you get 2 mana of the appropriate guild colour. So I just wanted to point this out here. So in addition to the cycle of guild lands at uncommon, there is an additional uncommon non-basic land, and that's Ghost Quarter. So let's have a look at the... that's right, they call these Guildhalls. Guildhalls, that's it. Yeah, these are Guildhalls. So you'll see that in them, they all tap for 1 mana of any colour. But you can pay an activation cost and tap them, and then you get something nice. So this one does damage prevention. This one, player discards a card. This one is interesting because this one definitely plays real strongly to the graft ability. And then finally, this isn't part of the cycle, but it's an uncommon cycle, and it also does generate one colourless mana. Sorry, I apologise if I said 1 mana of any colour. I'm not sure if I did or I didn't actually, but yeah, it's one colourless mana. Tap. Sacrifice Ghost Quarter, destroy target land. Its controller may search his or her library for a basic land card, put it into play, then shuffle his or her library. It's interesting because, you know, you can use this as a sort of mana fixing on yourself, because you can destroy your own land and then go search for a card. But so there's that additional utility if you really wanted it to do that, beyond just destroying opponents and playing opponents' lands. Again, here's our cycle. So these are the shock lands. Come into play. You can pay 2 life if you want to. You can shock yourself, but if you don't, then they come into play tapped. And they tap for either of the guild colours. And then this one, which isn't part of the cycle, we've got Pillar of the Permanence. Tap, add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to play multicoloured spells. So it's a conditional multicoloured land. Just to confirm, these are there is only 6 legendaries. Here's all our creatures, 90 creatures in the set. Oh, I made a mistake there. Yep. So there is... Okay, so they've gone over. So we do have some creatures which are 3 creature types. What do you know? Human, mutant, human, wizard, mutant. So clearly in this particular guild, in the Simic guild, they were adding on the mutant as well. Are they all mutants? No, not everyone. Okay, good to know. Cool. Got spiders and Indrik Stomp Howler as well. Be interesting to see like what turns up in terms of stuff that crops up on EDH Rec. Got an avatar here as well. Calling Oracle. I do like the Simic cards. $29 instants. Okay, so Condemn, we got a tuck effect. So again, let's just see what stuff we got at instant speed here. Damage prevention, pump spell. It's not like super lure. Card draw, counter spell. Interesting to see if we've got a number of sorcery speed counter spells there or not. Single black instant. All creatures become black and all lands become swamps till end of turn. It's our direct damage in red. Oh, we got self-hand disruption there. Interesting effect. Double strike, conditional and multicolour. It's conditional damage spell. That base the damage off of number of non-basic lands that creature's controller controls. Card that references the Nephilim in the previous set. We've got tokens here. Pump spell in green, and then to some these are the more interesting instant speed stuff. So there's a lot of good combination instant speed sets in this block, instant speed spells in this block that give you cool utility from the combination of the two colours. You can see here we've got a counter spell, and then you get to draw cards for the sort of this white-blue counter spell, card draw spell. And this one, you get to counter spell and have life and so on. Wrecking Ball is, creature and land destruction stapled together. And you've got conditional damage spell based on having no cards in hand and so on. And then obviously, as I pointed out earlier, you're going to get interesting things here because you've got combinations of combination spells. Okay, 19 sorcery spells. On this bounce, card draw, creature control. Got quite a lot of sorcery in black. Life drain, hand manipulation, card discard. Interesting tutor there. Graveyard manipulation, more discard. Sorcery speed damage spell, card discard in. Again, interesting. You got damage and using the discard to scale the damage. So you discard a card at random. Oh, so yeah, you don't get to choose though. If you do, it gets damage equal to the card's converted mana cost. Okay, but you can repeat that. Okay, that's interesting. Fertile imagination, tokens, target artifact, artifact enchantment, destruction, counters, mastery, card draw, and then again combinations of combinations. Few enchantments, 23, of which some are creature enchantment. Actually, there's quite a few by the look of things. Seal of Doom, that was another seal that was reprinted in this set. And then obviously some enchantments in the guilds as well. Some land enchantment there. And obviously some of these have got the guild ability on them as well. Oh, there's Utopia Sprawl. So I suppose you could argue variations on the usual suspect, some of which obviously take into account the casting cost colour for the guilds. "11 artefacts, which we've seen. So I'm just looking here how this breaks down. So yeah, how this works out is what you've got is, you can see here we've got the 3 of those are the signets, 3 are going to be the guild artifacts. So that one there, evolution vat, and where's the other one gone? Oh, walking archive, sorry. And then you've got a smattering of other that aren't part of those couple of cycles. So we've got the Transguild Courier, and I mentioned this earlier because no, I actually haven't shown you this card, I don't think. You may have just seen it in passing though. It's all colours. We've got Bronze Bombshell, Magerite Stone, Muse Vessel, and then Skullmead Cauldron. So we haven't seen these ones necessarily yet, because they weren't part of a cycle. Here's all our land, again just confirming that I actually got all the land that I was supposed to. So 3 lands at common, 4 at uncommon, 4 at rare, because there was an additional land at rare and uncommon that weren't part of the cycles for the guilds. And back to the set as a whole. So you'll see that we've got a name check there. Sort of reference other things in other sets. Okay, I don't think we need to go through those because we've probably seen the advantage with slicing and dicing this complicated of a set in terms of cycles and other things is you do get to pretty much see a large percentage of the cards as you're going through. I suppose the only ones you're not really going to see is the cards that aren't part of the guilds, and I've not highlighted them up for something else. But we can't go through everything, can we? That would be a 3-hour video probably. Okay, so moving on to the prices of cards in the set, just to give you some ideas. So no surprise to see the Shocklands bubble to the top. So $45 around about for a Dissension Blood Crypt. Breeding Pool next up, $40. Hallowed Fountain, $27. So top 3 cards are the 3 Shocklands. Then we've got Grand Arbiter Augustine at $19. Pillar of the Purrons, $13. Crime and Punishment, split card at $13. Protean Hulk, and that takes you below $10. So this thing, when it dies, it's so when it's put into the light, well, it depends what you read. If you read the card, at that point they were using the term put into the graveyard from play. Here with the Oracle text, it's when Protean Hulk dies. So when Protean Hulk is put into a graveyard from play, search your library for any number of creature cards with total converted mana cost 6 or less and put them into play, then shuffle your library. And then so on. So we've got what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 6 cards all above $10. And then in terms of what sort of comes up on EDH Rec, no surprise there really. We've got our 3, we've got interesting that the most popular card is one of the I'll start again, it's alright. First 3 are the Shocklands, and then we got, you can see in the top 8 we got 3 of the 3 Signets, and then we've got, further down we've got the 3 Bounce Lands. Ghost Quarter is up there, Utopia Sprawl, Coiling Oracle, Protean Hulk, Trigon Predator, usual suspects. Mage Right Stone, 2 to cast, 1 tap. Untap target creature that has an activated ability with tap in its cost. War's Toll, Condemn. Obviously much more critical when you had the ability to tuck your commander, but still interesting removal spell nonetheless. But yeah, good way of dealing with an offensive commander before they changed the rules. And there we have it. So that's it as far as the set musings are concerned. We're just over 1 hour. So what to look forward to after the set musing video? So we still have a deck Durdle episode for Dissension. I'm just going to finish up with that, and then we have an episode of Commander Fodder after that, and that's going to be, I'm going to use obviously one of the theme decks, carry on with that plan just while I finish up this block. And my plan is, look away now, too late, is to use Simic Mutology as my Commander Fodder, and pretty much probably going to use this unaltered for the seed. I might tweak it just at the start once I see what sort of cards it's suggesting, but I want to play around with Experiment Crage and the Graft stuff and a few other things as well, just to see where this takes us. It could take us a really weird place, but it could take us somewhere interesting, or it could take us somewhere weird and interesting. It's interesting, Indrix Stomp Howler is in here, which is cool. So when that enters the battlefield, you get to destroy a target artifact or enchantment. We've got the Bounce Land and the Guildhall. I think I've got that right in there as well. So yeah, so that's for the other 2 videos. Once we're done with this block, I'm going to make a slight tweak. For the moment, I'm going to go for putting 3 videos out back down to 2, because I want to concentrate on a few other things, and I'm finding doing 3 of these sort of videos is quite demanding time-wise. So yeah, the plan is to amalgamate the deck Durdle with Commander Fodder, and have something which I'm thinking calling the Commander Durdle, just because they've been aggregated together. And I'm going to go back in that episode. What I'll do, the plan is to open around about 12 booster packs using MTG Gen online, and then from that pick, hopefully what I'm hoping to do is there'll be either a legendary creature I can build around, or a build around rare, and then using those cards plus any other cards from the pool that I think might be synergistic in the deck. Those are going to be my seed. So I'm going from using theme decks as a seed to using a card pool as a seed. So I've basically borrowed the card pool from the episode of the deck Durdle, so to speak, but just have more cards. And then I'm using that as my seed for my Commander Fodder episode, where again I'm still going to use the Architect algorithm to help my brain remind what cards to play. I might also, because I'm starting off with a card seed, I might decide to pre-seed with other cards which I think are relevant but not necessarily suggested by Architect as well. And I've done episodes similar to that before, although I was using a smaller card pool as my pool. Back in the day I had two Commander Fodder episodes where one would be based on a card pool from a set and the other one would be based on a theme deck. Now I'm just going to use a card pool but make the card pool larger, and bring the two videos together. So what that will mean is Set Musings won't change at all. That's still going to go out on Monday, and then the episode of what has now been Deck Durdle and Commander Fodder joined together, so Commander Durdle, I have to remember I'm going to call it that, will come out on a Thursday, so Monday and Thursday. And then what I'm looking to do is I will be introducing other videos to the channel, some of which will be MTG videos, Magic the Gathering videos, but I'm hoping to use actual paper, product for that, and it might be along the lines of something to do with the artwork, or talking about a deck I have in paper, or another one of those sort of silent sleeving ones, those ASMR videos, and they'll just be put out randomly. They're not necessarily going to come out every week. So yeah, that's the plan going forward, because I was just finding doing that basically what was killing me to some degree, well, not literally, but I was finding the hardest to do was the episode of the Deck Durdle was the most sort of demanding. So I'm going to shelve that for the moment, and I might see it revisited. And certainly the other thing I'm going to do is any newer sets, I will be doing Set Musings for those. The only one where I'm on the fence at the moment is this double feature set, which I can't feel there's any advantage in doing that, because I've already covered the two sets individually. So, and effectively just mash them together. So there we have it. There's another episode of Set Musings in the can. It's a bit of a mixed feelings about this. I've really enjoyed doing this particular block, but yeah, it was a lot of work putting these slicing and dicing together, so I'll be glad in that respect that I moved on to the next block, and we're going to get some pretty interesting cards to look at. And well, actually it'll probably be even worse, because some of the cycles I predict are going to be pretty mind-blowing, because that next block, that sort of, was it Future Sight, all the future shifted cards, that's going to be interesting to say the least. Okay, thanks once again for watching. Bye for now.